Good evening, everyone. My name is Shelby Grammel. I am the Event and Outreach Coordinator here for the Hagen History Center. First, I want to start off by thanking our major sponsor, PNC Bank, for making this Poetry Hour possible. This is a first-time event for us, and of course, we'd rather have you here in person. But we are thankful for the opportunity to host this Poetry Hour virtually. Poetry is a form of expression. Poetry, like any other form of artistic creation, is one of the pillars of the humanities. Poetry can affect all generations and can make people consider anything from love to loss. Indeed, poetry does what little else can. It can inspire. Next, I'll hand it over to Miss Mabel Howard, who will explain the beauty of a colorful mind, honoring the past while inspiring a brilliant future. Mabel?
Thank you, Shelby. The beauty of color is a vision that was put into my heart to share with the community. The purpose is to pay homage to famous African-American poets and artists of the past in honor of Black History Month. This project also gives local poets and word artists an opportunity to use their creative talents to honor the past, appreciate the present, and inspire a bright and brilliant future through recorded words. In honor of my selected artists of the past, Dr. Maya Angelou, this is her piece called Still I Rise. You can write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons, just like suns, with the certainty of tides. Just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes? Shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened with my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. Out of the huts of history, shame I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain I rise. I'm a black ocean that's leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream, the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. So this piece was written in response to Maya Angelou's Still I Rise. It's called I'll Continue to Rise. I'll continue to rise no matter what traps are intentionally set for me. I'll continue to rise with the dreams that were birthed through Martin Luther King. I'll continue to rise by the trend that starts with the word diversity. The troubles come before the blessings. Be sure to take notes and learn the lessons put in place to cause you to level up. Take a seat and pour a cup. The butterfly effect has truly been set by angels you haven't heard or even seen yet, but you surely felt their presence when they provided protection. Don't forget the one who's really in charge. With him you can be free and let down your guard and continue to rise with the hopes and dreams. Continue to rise, you're on the right team. Continue to rise like you're supposed to do, walking in the steps divinely ordered for you. So what I've learned from Dr. Maya Angelou's work is what I want to share next. And pretty much as a person of color, we will always have obstacles, and it's up to us to overcome them one by one until the end of our time. The message that I want to send to the next generations to come is to stay strong. Someone's always watching you, and they'll be strengthened by the fact that you never gave up, leaving the impression that all things are possible. So this piece is called Be Seen for Society's Sake, and it's written by myself. You cannot treat a people any type of way and assume that your relationship will not change. Humans are meant to be loved and respected, regardless of your sex or skin, equally protected, not rejected for disinterest in ignorant missions, but heard because their perspective can give an inside reflection of how to level the playing field for people who have been held back, a people who experience lack, people who are judged and attacked for becoming brave enough to share the facts, invited to the table with a seat, but with a cue that says, be seen. We'll lean on you when we're ready to hear your view, and at that point, you can speak. So the next piece was written honoring this present moment, and it's called This Moment. If it delivers to you anything other than happiness, let it go. When I think about anything other than today, I am slowly allowing my life to fade away. Although it's important to remember your past, my power and control is in learning to grasp this present moment, the tears and the laughs. You can feel the pain sometimes because of the mishaps, but now is the time that you can choose correction, change your path and the direction you're heading. Shift, don't wish, and know that you can accomplish it, whatever it is that leaves a smile permanently within. And my next piece is called Forward. Everything in front of me is a gift. If I refrain from turning around as if I'm not familiar with the story of a woman who had everything in front of her, so long as she would have been willing to close all of the open doors and no more give access to everything holding her back, she would surely touch her dreams and experience no more lack. Will I be strong enough to close my ears to temptation's sound? Or is there comfort in knowing these very things are so close and around? I have the power to select my fate. But if I choose this time not to exercise my faith, it has been written that I will surely dissipate. My next piece is called No Beauty Because of the Beast. It breaks me when one cannot see beauty because the beast was unleashed. When we open up, allowing others to gain trust, a roar begins because it's threatened by the opening of gates that have been sealed with threats, trauma, and lies. The enemy uses this as a secret device, separating us from all we're meant to be, free, empowered, bold, unique. The process of healing may not be a good feeling. You'll have to face your fears, and this will bring many tears. But cry for as long as you need to. Drown out the beasts, the voices heard that are keeping you from peace. Then take out a pen, write. There's power in words, so speak life. You're destined for greatness, and soon you will see, once discovering the power of your beautiful story, you'll set the beast free.
Claude McKay. Through my dad's eyes, I honor you. For it was your will to see through a bigger lens that gave my father hope to see his future. Traveling from the shores of Jamaica to America, he too chased his dream, leaving behind the Caribbean breeze and the coconut tree. Father thought America not so bad, never enjoying the cold as much as he did the beautiful sand. This is in honor of you, Mr. Claude McKay. This is a poem that my dad read to me as a youth by Claude McKay, and it's titled, America. Although she feeds me bread of bitterness and sinks into my throat her tiger's tooth, stealing my breath of life, I will confess I love this cultured hell that tests my youth. Her vigor flows like tides into my blood, giving me strength erect against her hate. Her bigness sweeps my being like a flood, yet as a rebel fronts a king in state, I stand within her walls with not a shred of terror, malice, not a word of jeer. Darkly, I gaze into the days ahead and see her might and granite wonders there, beneath the touch of time's unerring hand, like priceless treasures sinking in the sand. This poem is titled On Broadway by Claude McKay. About me, young careless feet linger along the garish street. Above 100 shouting signs shed down their bright, fantastic glow upon the merry crowd and lines of moving carriages below. Oh, wonderful Broadway, only my heart is lonely. Desire naked, linked with passion, goes trotting by in brazen fashion, from playhouse to cabaret and inn. The rainbow lights of Broadway blaze, all gay without, all glad within. As in a dream, I stand and gaze at Broadway, shining Broadway, only my heart is lonely. December 1919 by Claude McKay. Last night I heard your voice, Mother, the words you sang to me when I, a little barefoot boy, knelt down against your knee. And tears gushed from my heart, Mother, and passed beyond its wall. But though the fountain reached my throat, the drops refused to fall. 'Tis 10 years since you died, Mother, just 10 dark years of pain, and oh, I only wish that I could weep just once again. Be at Peace by Franklin C. Curlin. Keep peace in your soul, for it is there that love dwells. Open is the mind that seeks understanding, never dismissing another. And in the face of chaos, we shall trust the Creator while we fight the injustices of our world. The Beauty of Color by Franklin C. Curlin. In the beginning was darkness, depicted by blackness, but the fullness thereof produced the rays of life in our rainbow, expressed by the birds of the air, the creatures of the sea, the animals moving to and fro, the many mortals hued with variations of pigmentation. Color is both powerful and beautiful, as it represents the spectrum of life itself. The beauty of color is a beauty unfolding from the heavens.
Hello, I'm Nisi Nicole. I'm a writer, humorist, and activist, mother of 2, college graduate, and a retired civil servant. I'm best known for writing poetry and spoken word, and my activism for women, people of color, the LGBTQ+ community. As a Black queer mother of 2 daughters, I am very passionate about equal rights and the advancement of the disenfranchised. I've tried to avoid things that don't edify me, basically because the negative energies are very draining. I do invite positive energies though, such as self-love, spirituality, healing, and peace. I aspire to reach out and aid and teach others. I like to create spaces for people like me so they can grow and lead future generations. For this project, I chose the incomparable Langston Hughes. I was very impressed with Langston Hughes. He was an artist, a writer, a poet in the Renaissance era. His work being so strong and being able to be published and winning an award-winning work before 30 was what probably drew me to him the most. just the strength behind his work, the honesty behind his work, and just how he navigated the Renaissance era. So the incomparable Langston Hughes was my choice. In my eyes, he was the most influential Black poet during that era. He was born in 1902. He was born James Mercer Langston Hughes in Joplin, Missouri. He settled in Cleveland, Ohio, which isn't far from here, and he studied at Columbia in New York City, and he graduated from Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. He was an up-and-coming writer, thriving and evolving in the Jazz and Renaissance era of Harlem. And Hughes strived to reflect the diversity of Black America in his work, and that's something that I'm very impressed by. In 1926, while he was in DC, he published his first poetry collection, and The Weary Blues, and in 1930, his first novel, Not Without Laughter. The novel won the Harmon Gold Medal Award for literature, and I was very impressed by that and inspired, seeing how he did that before age 30. To my recollection, Mr. Hughes authored 2 autobiographies, 16 volumes of poetry, 3 short story collections, 2 novels, 9 children's books, and 11 plays. All things that are on my to-do list. He is most recognized for his notable works that include The Negro Speaks of Rivers, Mother to Son, and Dreams. But my favorite piece is very little known, and it's called Black Misery. Hughes, this was his last published work in 1969, and he died actually while he was working on it 2 years prior to its release. In 1969, it was released. He died in 67. I quite enjoyed this piece as a little girl, and as I grew older, I understood that its actual relevance was very, to the culture, was very relevant for today. In discussing literature amongst my peers, I realized that the piece that I loved so much was little known and almost overlooked. I decided to re-examine the piece and apply it to today's State of the Union, because sadly, not much has changed or progressed since 1967, Hughes' sentiments then. So I rewrote his piece, and this was both triggering and cathartic for me. I decided to name my piece Black Misery Revisited, off of his piece, Black Misery. So this is Black Misery Revisited. Misery is when you hear on national news that your homeland, your birthplace, abundance and rich culture is actually a shithole country, and you always thought it was home. Misery is when during an international pandemic while quarantined, your online teacher asks, "Who is the president of the United States?" And someone shouts, "Make America great again." Misery is when foreign leaders, after reviewing election results of America, gasp and they say, "The guy from The Apprentice?" Misery is also when a red hat receives more attention and a blue line more respect than any Black life. Misery is when our most trusted news sources present images of the late civil rights icon, Congressman Elijah Cummings, as we all tried to grieve the passing of our late civil rights icon, Congressman John Lewis. Misery is when your white counterparts fail to give explanation to your family and the world on how you became missing, bound, found deceased, beaten in a cell, hanging, or rolled up in a gym mat. Misery is when you are buried in a grave, disturbed, after being stuffed with the black-lettered white sheets of the same times that will surely fail to cover your story. Misery is when everyone in the neighborhood, with the exception of you, has the latest technology, clothes and shoes. Misery is when your very best buddy from high school, with opposing political, religious, or socioeconomic views, posts something that you deem offensive, and you unfriend them. Misery is when you post something on social media of opposing political, religious, or socioeconomic views, offending your very best buddy from high school, and they unfriend you. Misery is also when no one told you that if you walk alone with your hoodie on, play in a park with a toy gun, pass a counterfeit bill, or otherwise make any false moves. As a repercussion, you may be gunned down, smothered, snuffed out completely by police. Misery is when no one mentioned that the authorities would be called by concerned citizens who do not appreciate you walking your dog, barbecuing, or resting in a park. Misery is when spending time with your family at a company holiday party, children, meaning no harm, greet you with words that you've never heard put together before, like porch monkey or uppity negress, all because it sounded silly when mommy and daddy said it. Misery is when you inadvertently have discovered your moniker, the one they use when you are not present. Misery is when welfare reform is being discussed on the news and your neighborhood alone is broadcast. Misery is when you have an ethnic sounding name, dark hair or dark skin tone, and people spend the entire day referring to you as exotic. Misery is when you become an adult and through research and for no reason at all, you discover that all of your childhood games of tag were led by sing-songs and were products of deep-seated racist origin. Misery is when our president speaks of our bordering nation saying, quote, "They are not our friends. Believe me. They are bringing drugs and crime, and they are rapists. I assume some are good people." Misery is when you must continuously organize days of action, plan rallies, and boycotts against companies and organizations who do not support the marginalized or the disenfranchised. Misery is when you discover that none of your hair products, none, the ones that you use every day, the ones that you stand by, none of them are Black owned. Misery is when you asked your grandmother to buy you the retro Jordans, and she buys you the team Jordans. Misery is when your favorite Black actor gains success and wealth by mimicking women in the worst way possible. Misery is also when your favorite Black actress can't gain the same notoriety by being her very best self. Misery is when your parents think your choice of music, literature, arts, fashion, or hobbies is just you trying to be white. Misery is when the loudest, the rudest, the drunkest person flying in first class is Black. Misery is when you are fast asleep in your bed after a hard day of work and you are murdered by a SWAT team who claim they simply made a mistake. Misery is when your mama says that the Attorney General, he's skin folk, but he sure ain't kinfolk. But she never really explains why. Misery is when your hair, God-given and in its own state, whether it is styled or not, becomes a center of a monumental Supreme Court case regarding cleanliness, appropriateness, and professionalism. Misery is when you, as a child, unaware of many things, but completely certain of things like Santa Claus, Jesus Christ, and the President of the United States. They're white, only to grow up and discover, well, they're not. Thank you. The mission statement for this project is the beauty of color, and I wrote a poem inspired by our theme. It's called Magic Black Women. I swear, Black women, when we walk, electricity fills the space. Silver bolts flash at the clicks of our heels. Around us, flowers bloom, hybrids of red and lavender. The eucalyptus blends just perfectly with our skin. Whether browned or like the Sunday turkey dinner or yellow like the sun. The rays accent the gold pigments dancing off of our cheekbones. The bluebirds sing. The grayed leaves climb the trees to reattach themselves. Green. Oh, we are magic. Black girl magic. Thank you. I did do a few political pieces to contribute to this. This one is called Life Amid COVID. Life is all right amid COVID. I really can't complain. With all the world sadness and the televised madness, I just call upon God's name. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this pandemic came with a few things. Some lessons were learned, some bridges were burned, while we all tried letting our freedoms ring. An epidemic collided and our nation divided. Our leadership pit us at war. All the increased anxiety sparked massive rioting, a scene this country has shot before. Violated civil rights turned into fistfights, the disenfranchised organized. The minorities tired of what has transpired. Now boots are on ground. When will the majority see we just want liberty and justice for everyone around? Never could imagine or dream of mass quarantine, curfews, restrictions, and sudden death. We're all just in line buying our time behind masks, holding our breaths. An increase of sharing and unfortunately Karens, but overall divine benevolence, race baiting and violence mixed with the silence of our nation's government. And I speak loosely concerning leaders of our government because as a spiritual being like me, I know where Satan's time is spent. We the people reject the degradation as our detriment, and we only accept the reparations as our settlement. A country stolen from natives centuries ago used Black and brown labor to make its economy grow, angered our bordering countries, once considered sisters, and disturbed the ground of our beloved ancestors. Life will be all right during this world crisis, because I know that if I'm left to my own devices, survivors that can easily navigate this land and my persuasion and my DNA can reproduce any man. Ashe. Just to step aside from the politics for a little while, second, I did write one just to pay homage to our Black men. So this one is called Black Men, You Are Loved. To my brothers, Black men, you are loved. You are desired. You are strength, you are power. Knowledge and wisdom, they live in you. You are more than potential. You are the future. You are needed, essentially. Holster your weapons against yourselves. Recognize your place in this world and claim it. Lead us. Thank you. In 2016, with the Trump inauguration, I did write a piece just to reflect some of my thoughts. So this one is called the 2016 inauguration. Dear Commander-in-Chief, skin more orange than the sun. Oh, how happy the bigots are that you have won. I know America, and I wasn't shocked by the margin. I just, however, was curious on which parts that you'd bargained. What is amazing is that we all could bear witness on just how shady you've always done business. You've been cheeky with Russia. We know Putin's your man. Does that have anything to do with the size of those hands? See, Rubio pointed that out and we all laughed till we cried, and he smiled right through his own political suicide. You were mean to us women, pig-faced bimbos and hags, referencing blood coming out of places that rich men like you grab. And who in the world told you you were loved by the Blacks? Stacey Dash, come on, Mr. Trump. That girl is so whack. So in Black America, we do have to take solace, remembering the only Christopher that we acknowledge is Wallace. The only Donald would be McClurkin or Glover. So we have to get real logical and support one another. We remember the Reagans and not forgetting Nixon, and we're still all hailing from the Bushes and their fixins. We've let down our ancestors, rolling deep in their graves, electing this nut the way he behaves. To our Mexican brothers and sisters, not forgetting you at all, please trust and believe there will be no ridiculous wall. It was all rhetoric, just to win the contest, because building useless things is what Donnie does best. So November 9th, 2016, we said President Trump. His bathrooms and towers were lovely. We've all taken that dump. And as a strong Black American educated woman, I say this with pride, America, Trump, you were the ass that America had to ride. Thank you. This piece is called Late Inauguration. This is written in 2020. Late inauguration, degradation of a nation, fascination with sanitation and painful truths on fake news stations. Walls tumble as they are built, the disenfranchised, targeted, maimed, and killed. Insurance companies generating bills. A call for a tyrant's soul to be healed. Refrain to change the Constitution's frame. Learn the names of those who intend on remaining you chained. Considered attained and tamed, famed prize game, stalking us and mocking us, shifting the blame. The infestation of frustrations covers this great nation. Too much violence and race baiting, debating on who's causing this devastation. Through our trials and our tribulations, overcoming this situation, may God have mercy on all of creation during this time of late inauguration. Thank you. This is a poem I wrote a few weeks ago, inspired by the insurrection we had in DC. It's titled, "Is This Your King?" The Capitol was sieged, and the culprits, they survived to brag. Meanwhile, Black people just existing are gifted toe tags. He evoked fear-mongering and massive deaths with his lies. So red nose and balloon him, call him President Donnie Wise. And all of Donnie's supporters, Proud Boys and MAGA men, stormed to DC and kicked those Capitol doors right in. And they all screamed, "Hey, don't tread on me, whilst I tread on the Capitol in DC. We are the winners. We will never concede. This is our America, the home of the brave, land of the free. Our union has been ruptured. We're bleeding. Our leader, the enemy of the state. Much confusion and collusion from this Manchurian candidate." See, we saw this trouble brewing and stewing from Georgia to Ohio State. Even the devil came back up north crying, "I ain't responsible for all of this hate." America has fallen. The world has stopped to listen to the terror that's intentionally broadcast from the country founded by the Christians. No matter your affiliation, the world was first to witness the gravity and the tyranny of this kingdom business. Thank you. This section is about the importance of literature and literacy. It's very important to me, and I press it upon my children as it was impressed upon me at a young age. I'll share this short poem. My sweet Black child, there'll be things you won't understand, primarily because your ancestors, they were stolen from land. The land of all mothers, sacred and grand. The home of the DNA found in every man. My sweet young Black child, there'll be days that are long. Some days will be rough, but you've got to be strong. When the going gets tough, know your rights from your wrongs. Adjust your crowns, my love, and take the seats on your thrones. Author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie sums up my thoughts on the importance of literacy. She says that, and I'm paraphrasing, be a student for the rest of your life. The best way to do it is read every day, preferably books, but otherwise anything that is continuous, relatively long, which means Twitter doesn't count. The same sentiment was drilled in me by my maternal grandmother, Giga. And obviously that was 20 years ago, so there was no Twitter then. She never wasted an opportunity to encourage me to read, whether it be recipes, instructions on how to create things, or just directions. She never limited it to just books. I was totally immersed in Black culture and literature, arts at a very young age, which caused adults to refer to me as precocious at times. As an adult, I realized that it was because I had a vast vocabulary. I loved to read, even the dictionary and the thesaurus. I would discover new words and try to memorize them and use them as much as possible. The words would just dance around in my head, and then they would just resurface whenever I needed through speech. And this is why I think that literacy is important, if you just read anything. It is a catalyst of learning and life success. There is a saying that if you wanted to hide something from the Negro, to put it in the book. And we cannot allow that statement to gain any truth. To know who you were, or to know who you are, you have to learn who you were. You have to learn where you originated. And that all comes from studying first. My ultimate goal is to inspire future generations into a love for literature and writing so that we can properly record history. I want to be featured in the next coming chapters if we have the next Bible. I want my works to be cemented. And I just want to be a blessing to future generations. Thank you.
So when asked, I certainly chose Paul Laurence Dunbar because I went to high school in Ohio, and he's from Ohio, and he was a great friend of the Wright brothers, and it just meant a lot to me. We used to go to the Afro-American History Museum in Wilberforce, Ohio. And they had some of his works there. And he was known for several things, least of which was his dialect poems, which were an authentic example of African-American speech as he understood it and he experienced it and practiced it himself. And he would go back and forth between using that particular model to write, certainly as an expression of Black people, but also to show the power and creativity therein and bring respect to our culture. So I always thought his work was wonderful, but particularly now, I think there's no more fitting poem. This isn't a dialect poem, but it is probably the single most well-known poem of his, and it is We Wear the Mask. We wear the mask that grins and lies. It hides our cheeks and shades our eyes. The debt we pay to human guile. With torn and bleeding hearts we smile, a mouth with myriad subtleties. Why should the world be overwise in counting all our tears and sighs? Nay, let them only see us while we wear the mask. We smile, but, O great Christ, our cries to thee from tortured souls arise. We sing, but, oh, the clay is vile beneath our feet and long the mile. But let the world dream otherwise. We wear the mask. So to those who aren't, it isn't obvious to, that poem is about the dual consciousness of Black people in America, and it's profound. There have been many works written off of his. Frantz Fanon has a book, it's called Black Skin, White Masks, I believe, and it gets it more into dual consciousness. So it's a very powerful piece. So in a reflection of that, I had an attempt here of a piece called Beware the Traps. Beware the traps that twist and wind, deny our loss with suicide, the snares ops set like cheese to mice that profit government supplies. We entertain with tales of vice. Why should the world be overwise, acknowledge our forgotten highs? No, let them simply watch us die. Beware the traps. We glide, but oh Allah, they're lies. Through knowledge do you cause our rise, above their heads, while low their eyes. Unlock our place, despite such trials. But let the world dream otherwise. Beware the traps. So we're focusing on color, and one that's profound to me, especially for being the MC for the Blues Fest, is the blues. So we want to take it a certain way here. This is the blues. When the missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible and we had the land. They asked us to bow our heads and pray. When we looked up, we had the Bible and they had the land. What does the American flag stand for? We are told the red is blood and valor. White is bandages and purity. Blue is vigilance and perseverance. The blue is a melancholy, a life lived under the white gaze, that which we're used to, from which we need to escape. Now there's pop and rock, but these are not the blues. We all need a shot, just like the good news. Casting shades between shadows, sepia tones, the brass of jazz, the rhythm clash of soul, and what's more obsidian than a king of coal. A sound clash from a blue mountain, a sound splash from a cool, cool fountain, a purple funk, the loudest possible smell. Shall we go deeper into this well, born yesterday, yet elemental in age? Lightning strikes the Congo more than any other place. Wrestle this lightning as hands play, moaning and crying in the most desirable ways. Songs of sunshine and rain, blues is and jazz says what thunder said to lightning. Now we've got fire, graceful and rapturous, healing and deep, where body and soul go in our dreams, sweet Eden. What does the red, black, and green stand for? The red stands for our blood, the black stands for our skin, and the green stands for our land, the blues. This is a piece called James Evans. So you're finally here. I guess none of those men who were supposed to replace me were good enough for you, boy. Didn't they tell you I'm no good, boy? I've broken all the 10 commandments at least twice. Didn't they tell you I'm a monster? Well, I can see you've got a whole lot of anger, son. Maybe you even want to fight someone. Well, if you're here to fight somebody, here I am. But I don't think you came here to fight. And I did not come here to kick your behind. I came here to tell you that I love you. I didn't get to tell you this before because I even hated myself, and nobody gave a damn about that. They all just tried to kick my behind. Look, your mama and I not being together, that's got nothing to do with you. That's grown folks' business. No, I wasn't there. I didn't take you to ball games. I didn't teach you to tie a tie or drive. No one was there to teach me either. Life is not fair, son. People will hate you before they even know you. You can't go around expecting white folks to be kind to you. The system will try to destroy you. But the black man is the father of the human race. And we will be here right when the lights go out. But I'm not here to talk about the system. I came here to tell you to get up. Yes, they wanted to kill me. Yes, they wanted to lock me up. Anybody who's ever done anything has been hated and feared by somebody. I know that nobody expects you to be anything. And that's why when you get yourself together, it will be an awesome thing. Get up. Bigger and quicker men have tried to do what you need to do now and failed. But one thing you have that they do not is that you are mine. No matter what they told you, no matter what I've done, all the best parts of your father and mother were put together to make you. When you look down at the mess of your life and dig deep inside and find the deepest part of yourself, ask the Lord. And there you will find everything you need. No matter what they say, no matter what you've done, you are still the man that God made. And if the universe didn't want you here, then you would not be here. Son, get up. Find those things that give you strength and life and hope, and be the man that others deny you to be. But don't do this for them. Don't even do it for me. Do it for yourself. I love you. This is called Clots of Blood. I wrote it right before my son was born. We cry and taste the sea. Everything we are from what we used to be. Lazy frogs dreaming tadpole dreams, astronauts in timeless sea. Son, our voices cross your waters like the creator in this universe, bringing you in through us to this bloodless egg, the earth. We cross this Rubicon as illegals, runaways, waiting for you in dark places in light. Your parents are as Orpheus and Lot's wife had they had faith. The child makes the parent. No one calls us green, they sip the wine of our joy, a vine ripened with you. Humbled like Kunta Kinte, we are survived by you and are as lions with our pride, not shameless dogs who know not their own. You were not sprung from lust like King Arthur, or hatred like Mordred, or vengeance like Horus. Surely you have arrived anointed as a veil-born child. For you are love's fulfillment of itself. Let no one doubt the breadth, purity, depth, or gravity of our love for you, surrounding us, animating us, turning blood red from blue, indeed thicker than water. You are loved as a cactus loves rain, as water its own level, as moon romances tides, and God willing, we'll shelter you as the stones shelter their own blood, or the overseeing moon, or the nurturing sun, and in time, the distant stars of which you shall dream. For love is full of nothing if not hope. Pity cling Hercules, though enshrined amongst the stars, we pray for us the gift he was not given, for he outlived his own children. These blessings we pray for you, an old man's strength, an old woman's faith, and always grace. An overwatered plant withers, and you are an apple from a tree generations deep. May you fall just far enough to grow into your own. Brave Achilles, had his mother known only to let her go a little more, would he have so tragically died? Moses' mother's faith at last set his people along freedom's tide. And like Daedalus' gift to Icarus, we offer wings of the mind and pray the Creator gives you wings of the soul and victory in either ether. For no sword could you inherit more penetrating than the lessons of the prophets. Be a man of understanding, but not so experienced that you fail to find flavor in seas of salt. For who knows best blood, a butcher, a soldier, a doctor, or a mother? Know that in this gambler's house, this glass blower's palace of time, history is written in stone, destiny is written in the stars, and there is a master with a plan which surpasses all understandings of man, who brought us forth from earth and mud and formed us out of clots of blood. It's called light. A yellow sun arcs across infrared and ultraviolet. Teach me a rain dance. Oh, reveal a hoop of many hoops to rain across the web of all life's intentions. How pure is this white light, pregnant with so much color? How much meaning from its absence? The values we place on colors reflect our own, as we are only human. Taking every compliment, all our shades of brown, our monochromatic worlds are only proof of crude designers. The world is a complex one. We give each other intensity. Why is it feminine to know the names of all the colors? What color is electricity? What color is the chemistry between a man and a woman? Family, friendship, and what color do we all bleed? The rainbow is only part of a circle too big to see. Its center is love, drawing us together. our attraction across races, the beauty of a child. We are only bold as our love, and all children seek the same thing, attention. I also feel at times as if people are talking about me if I cannot understand their language, and every so often they are. But our tongues are palettes of possibility, and we can grow in understanding or just type in stereo. I am not mixed, I am a remix. My border is yours, and yours is mine, and ours is theirs. We are a self-fulfilling prophecy of exclusion. We are the cause and the mirror effect. It's race biology, culture, nationality. Race is man's invention. It need not be our destiny. History matters because it's what has brought us where we are today. However, we build one future together. Some build towers of arrogance, inspired by promises of gold at rainbow's end. Others build arcs of compassion out of sheer awe. We share one creator, but the most segregated time in America is still 11 a.m. Sunday morning. The future is built of opponent color and geometry, its shape and complexion yet to be determined. So I don't believe in race, though it sure believes in me. So this is my vow. Race is an illusion, but because racism still exists, I respect diversity, or I will never understand, because I'll never know, because I'll never ask, because I won't let them show. Thank you.
My name is LaTanya Gamble, and I'm actually an author of 4 pieces of poetry, and they're my testimonials. So I dedicate my life to inspiring and encouraging those who have been through things that left them on the ground, needing to be scraped up. And this first piece is titled Literacy. In past times, slave masters counted illiteracy a priority for keeping slaves content and from desiring and expecting better treatment and a higher standard of living, which was information that was being broadcast nationally due to the injustice of slavery by abolitionists and those fighting against it. Therefore, reading and writing gained precedence as being necessary for us, especially to communicate and use as the fundamental communication for our daily lives, as the ability to explore our own minds, intellectual capabilities, to communicate effectively with others, and to stay abreast about what's happening in the ever-changing world around us. Well, actually, when I read about the life of Phyllis Wheatley, I was inspired to choose her. Her legacy was one that was never really glorified until she died. And she was actually the first African-American author to be published in a book of poetry. This poem is titled Life. From the cradle of the grave, I speak. Words project from the pit of my stomach with lyrical trajectory, toppling mountaintops and climbing a platform to reach my father's house before being breached, as they fall upon deaf ears of those whom hear but rebuke listening, while thus opening the eyes of all whom are willing to see that life is a battlefield, wherein I once was innocent, prosperous, and free, before gaining incarceration. But don't be fooled, I ain't nobody's criminal. I'm actually a soldier, Marine Corps branded by my dad, Elijah Gamble. My mother, Linda D., was the thread which sewed the blueprint of unconditional love upon my heart's inseam, while being a single parent to my 2 gents and 1 lady became my determination to succeed against all costs. So with the gun charge strapped to my back, I was forced to slave and toil for crumbs. And when that wasn't sufficient enough, I labored on my back for men, leaving me battle-scarred and wounded by tough love's abrasion. Wherefore bitterness sank its fangs like the serpent of Satan. And so desperation forced me upon my knees on a regular basis. Whereas in due time, the Lord levied the ground, rooting, fermenting, and steadying my faith. before transforming my mess into a message of survival by grace, ultimately establishing my foundation and uprooting all my shame as I brought glory to his name, which roused the devil to target, strike, and send his legion to fully engage both my sons in a game of mental hysteria. They call it schizophrenia. I call it spiritual warfare. Aware of one's impossibility to help wage war against an enemy they cannot see, other than soliciting the mercies of God. And so in one case, we are still striving against them. But on 4/26/19, we lost the battle with my 21-year-old son. A beautiful blessing to a suicidal tendency, which left me in purgatory and contemplating severing ties with my own life. But as I was left to daily comfort and console the cries of the remnants of my children and my dad, I became all the more livid with Satan, wherefore refusing to allow him to put shame upon the name and life of legacy of Antonio Gamble, which was reflective of the Christ within, and allow illumination of my spirit to be annihilated due to the wiles and spoils of Satan. When we were born and bred children of the light, whose Father is the Most High and holds all power in his hands, whereas even Satan must seek permission to commit acts of devilment. Therefore, I sought the Lord's face on a more intense basis, and he instilled perseverance in my spirit, which is how I remained standing, with understanding that our lives are not our own, but purpose to bear revelation of a kingdom mission until we are called home. The return to earth, ashes to ashes and dust to dust, until the resurrection. This would have been my poem to Phyllis. And it's like, dearest Phyllis, how hard life must have been, being snatched from your family as a young child and laying under the strong arm of slaveries. Whereas you always seem to be bowed at the marsh and being regarded as nothing. Thus you're a proof that God's will seek and find from the latter end of the world to uncover the greatness placed within prior to us even being given life. And though the oppressor diligently toils to spoil and keep one in darkness, your discovery of God and the Savior removed weight of the sable curtain thrown over your face. Therefore, no matter how vain the ill treatment, nor how far out the painful scars may have singed, holding firm to truth dawned your greatest weapon. Whereas though in life you may have lacked worthy recognition, in death you were rectified as a dignitary who surmounted the highest peaks, casting down shadows of doubt, torturous demons, and overshadowing the depths of this futile existence. Because although in life you suffered much hardship and may have even been robbed of your children, I call you Mother Africa, because you were a fierce intellectual force to be reckoned with, whom God so wonderfully created with purpose. Therefore, your legacy will forever be released from the lips of those giving honor to Black poets of past times, branding infant as a young Black female who strove against all odds to unleash her inner champion, regardless of recognition, which will remain a beat in my heart forever and a household name for me and my children. I need to take a trip so I can journey to the plains of Africa and reconnect the roots disconnected once we were taken captive and forced to endure centuries of slavery, as our forefathers and great-grandmothers labored fields, stitching together the once Native America, creating the fabric of the greatly dysfunctional United States of America, wherein behind enemy lines, trees perspire bloodshed of the brutally beaten, maimed, lynched, and castrated Black men, and in some cases, the Black woman, who was often sodomized by her master's affections while being forced to cater to his white woman, the household, and their children, as her very own offspring were titled illegitimate due to their dark complexion, and in many cases due to his taint tinting traces of their melanin skin white chocolate, though all the while gallivanting, highlighting their devilment in honor of the Pentecost, as they worked tirelessly as railroad men to lay the foundation poured generationally by our esteemed ancestors, an attempt to cause our degradation, while committing acts of treason and gaining respect for the wrongful deaths of colored people. Thus, when those Holocaust tactics failed, they solicited our very help in arming us with hatred towards one another, as they stood sidelined, chanting genocide of the Black species altogether, blind to the fact that, just as history illustrates, no man was despised more than that of Christ Jesus, which should have provided us confirmation as well as them, that people only hate those things in which they feel inferior. Wherefore, no matter how hard they strive to oppress us, we must continually rise up with love in our hearts and willingness to elevate our mentals, that our hearts may minister the lyrics to James Brown's I'm Black and I'm Proud, and our anthem shall remain, we shall overcome, just as that of Jesus, whom was crucified and thus still lives, even so within us. Whereas dominance also does not die, but simply multiplies to breed superiority time after time, until Father Time returns to declare our work finished and a job well done, and cause all in the earth to reap what they've sown in light of the plans of this new world order. So this poem is actually by Phyllis Wheatley, and it's titled On Being Brought from Africa to America. 'Twas mercy brought me from my pagan land, taught my benighted soul to understand that there's a God, that there's a Savior too. Once our redemption never sought nor knew. Some view our sable race with scornful lie. Their color is a diabolical dye. Remember, Christians, Negroes, black as Cain, may be refined and join the angelic train. So this poem is titled Legacy. I will spill over and pour out bowls full of tears, pain, laughter, trials, and triumph, via 4 testimonials, a gift God-given, full of open-heartedness, heartache, and a display of faith built up only upon mayhem, set in place for the inspiration of others, because fact is, without God on my side, guarding and shielding me from the wiles of Satan as I surf the tides of life, and then roping me back in like anchorage when I am subject to drowning, time and time again, I never would have made it. So considering fact that our lives are not our own, as all things must go, my mission involves instilling encouragement in the world of lost souls, that I may resuscitate them back to living and influencing the importance of seeking God's face, that they may attain power to overcome the demons we often discover within, by gaining access to God's grace and the Holy Spirit within, which was given to empower, convict, lead, instruct, and guide us in discovering all wisdom, that it may manifest the love and passion for Christ, which will unlock the door to loving oneself and ultimately trickle down to loving others as well. As God orchestrates revelation of the gift placed inside each one of our vessels before birth, to be honored and utilized in satisfying our purpose of bringing glory and honor to his kingdom, and ministering unto others the spread of light, love, truth of the gospel, and the importance of not giving up everywhere our feet lands upon soul. Removing stigma of being a bottom feeder, regardless of lacking wealth, stature, or title, is what I would describe as the legacy of LaTonya Gamble.
Stand Here by Franklin C. Curlin. Moving about in times of uncertainty, I wonder what life will be in a distant time. Finding hope lost or transcending into substance of harmonious heart. I wonder what life holds for us all as we move forward in life. Stand here and bear witness.
The question was asked, who am I? I have an excerpt from a bio poem that I had started. People like me, I don't know. Sometimes I can be as rough as the skin on my elbows. I'm a millennial, melanated mother of two, marvelous girl, so I always speak in prose. I've always had a passion for reading and writing, and that was something that was impressed upon me by my maternal grandmother, whom I affectionately called Giga. I was reading and writing before school age, and I tend to unintentionally speak in prose. I graduated from Edinburgh University of PA with a degree in criminal justice. And after a decade of service with the state of Pennsylvania, I decided to dedicate my life to activism. My personal and professional experiences have shown me that my very existence is at risk for extinction, and that's something I just refuse to accept. I began to work on outreach through writing and spoken word, and obviously some hands-on as a first responder. I began to work, and I had my first publishing in grade school. A teacher of mine published my poetry to a contest, and I won an entry to an anthology in 1997. So that was like my first publishing and kind of catapulted me to wanting to do this. So I have been blessed to be in several publications since then. And I do yearn to be an author and just collect all my words and make it powerful enough to have a collection that will be uttered by future generations. As far as my legacy, I just would like people to know that I stood for something because I refused to fall for anything. I've always felt mishandled and misunderstood. I think the story of the skinny, dark-skinned Black girl with natural hair has been told and retold so many times. It took me until I was 24 years of age to truly begin to appreciate my appearance and love me. I was consumed by negative comments and opinions of others, those around me, and people who just wanted to cripple me. I started to believe them at times. My creativity started to suffer and would cause me so much self-doubt. I realized that those were snares that were set to trap me, and I decided I wanted to fail on deploying them. So through self-care, love, faith, trial, and error, I began to take better care of myself and blossom into my true greatness. With discipline and hard work, I've been able to achieve my set goals, and I want to be a role model for not only my children, but other children. I am adamant about ensuring the success and productive life of future generations. So if anything for my legacy, that would be that.
So this one speaks of my passion. It's my legacy and how I want to be remembered by future generations. Her passion. Better than any designer fashion, original, unique, attention-grabbing, pure, making it easy for her to lead small or large crowds. She's a visionary who chooses to guide philanthropists who live in this town down a path that will benefit a community that is in need, an audience she has been chosen to serve, and they are grateful for her because she listens to them, showing concern, effortlessly because it's in her heart, easy like breathing. Mountain mover, her self-description, proven by her daily works and ongoing accomplishments. And this is how she wants to be remembered, by her passion.
When Israel went to Egypt's land, let my people go, oppressed so hard they could not with the Lord both Moses said, let my people go. If not, I'll smite your firstborn dead. Let my people go. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell Lord Pharaoh to let my people go. Tell Lord Pharaoh to let my people go. Let my people go. Let my people go.
Well, I hope you enjoyed tonight's Poetry Hour, the beauty of a colorful mind, honoring the past while inspiring a brilliant future. Starting February 11th and every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., a paper booklet filled with poetry you heard tonight will be available in our Carriage House gift shop for $10. The booklet will also be available online and can be shipped for $2 additional at www.eriehistory.org. Half of the proceeds from the booklet will be donated to Bethany Outreach Center's MARS program, Martial Arts and Reading Sessions, which have been halted because of COVID-19. The funds will be used in support of their next season. As always, please check our website, www.eriehistory.org, for new events, blogs, and up-to-date information on what we're doing here at the Hagen History Center. Thank you. Good night.